So today we are going to start with our actual syllabus with the content of the first unit. I'm audible, all of you?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'll just share my screen. Let me know, Adit Radha, A division. Let me know whether my screen is visible or not. Yes, I'm doing it. Okay, just wait. I'll say for B division also. Mugdha, B division.
Yes, ma'am.
Let me know better whether my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. It's not visible, ma'am.
Not visible.
Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible.
I have shared it.
Yeah.
I've shared it.
Yes.
So I'm taking two divisions side by side. Okay, I'm using a Google Meet because there isn't problem with Teams, so I'm working with Google Meet. So A and B division both are there simultaneously. Okay, so I'll just start it. Visible,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
students?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yes, thank you. Thank you so much. So see, we are going to start with the syllabus. The first unit was Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming. Now, I would like to say that I'll be providing you the notes, digital notes from my side for OP, PPTs and the videos, and also the sample codes which we are going to discuss in the lectures. Because we don't have a direct lab for this OP, so we are going to see some hands-on codes. I will demonstrate you until and unless you will, go through the codes or see the hands-on session, you may not understand the concept. What is the use of it? So for that reason, fine. So let's go with it. Before starting with it, yesterday I have shared you the PBL one, draft one. Have you got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so see, that was a simple draft. Now we are starting with the autonomy this semester, fine, second year, first time. So we will share you the final list of assignment, which will come to you through our lab plan, lesson plan, fine. So we'll be having a lesson plan, lab plan for OP and PD, and through that the list of assignments will come to you. Is it okay? So the draft which I have shared you, it is the suggested one. Is it okay? So this is just for the reference. Actual one, it will come to you when we will prepare a lesson plan or lab plan. Is it okay? Any doubt with it? And with division, any doubt?
Ma'am, we are not able to hear you properly.
Ma'am, your voice is lagging.
Yes, ma'am. Your voice is lagging, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Audible? I'm audible.
Yes, ma'am. You're audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
you're
Now.
audible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Now
Okay.
it's better.
Okay. I hold it little bit closer now. What I'm saying is, yesterday I had shared a draft of PBL. Fine, because there was a confusion for some of the students regarding the copy on the website. So I'm just saying it is the draft one, fine. But what we have to refer, we are going to finalize a lesson plan, lab plan, which will come to you very shortly before we are going to start with PBL one. Is it okay? So, if you're having any doubts related to OP and PBL1, you can directly interact with me, not an issue. You're having my mail ID. Yesterday, I've given you my mail ID. It is swati.sandurkar
Yes.
@eccoipune.org. Okay. So, you can directly drop me a mail there. No issue for that. Okay. Instead of discussing here and there, you can communicate with me. No issue. Even though if you're having silly doubts, you can drop me a mail. Fine. So let's start with our syllabus. Okay, before starting, can anyone tell me what is procedural programming?
Ma'am, your voice is lagging again.
I'm at my location only, beta. Okay, A Division Prasad, roll number 153. Yes, can you tell me what do you mean by procedural programming? Okay, those who know they can raise their hands so that I could know who are there. Okay, Omkar, uh, what is procedural programming? Okay. 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 Can you tell me, Omkar, that whether it is a bottom-up or top-down approach?
Ma'am, there is lag.
Hello. It's a
Ma'am,
bottom-up
not audible.
approach.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your voice is lagging, ma'am.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
Whose voice? I'm not
Ma'am,
talking
your-
anyone. Omkar is answering.
Whenever you're talking, your voice is breaking.
I'm not talking anyone. Omkar was talking. I was just listening him.
No, ma'am, now
I
also
said
you are
those who know the
speaking,
answer, they can raise their hands. Huh? Just a minute. Huh? Now? Now it's okay.
No, ma'am, there are disturbances near me.
I'm joining from my desktop only. And, we have in the college, so enough bandwidth is there. So I don't know why this issue is coming to you. Now also you're having the issue?
Yes, ma'am.
Not audible to me. Not audible me.
Ma'am, there is noise. There is
Too
noise.
much disturbance.
Sorry. Nice.
Yes.
No.
Yes, ma'am, noise. No.
Okay. I'll try to speak. If you are not able to hear, then what you can do is just.
Ma'am, now it is good, ma'am. Ma'am, now it is good. Now it
Okay.
is good.
Okay. Shailendra, you had raised the hand. Can you tell me whether procedural programming is a bottom up or top down? Bottom up. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, let's go with the B division now.
Ma'am, it's top down approach.
Down. Very good. Who's this?
Ma'am, Pragati.
Pragati. Okay. Pragati, this is top down. Very good. Why it is top down? Because Shailendra and Omkar, they said it is a bottom up approach, and you said it's a top.
Ma'am, actually,
So-
if we talk about object-oriented programming, then it has a bottom-up approach, and if we talk about proper procedural programming, then it's a top-down approach.
Okay, I will tell here why the procedural programming is an top-down approach. Yes, someone is saying Devash say it follows order. See, in every programming languages, we are following the order.
Ma'am, we can't hear you. Ma'am, we can't hear you.
No one. Bugda.
Yes,
Ma'am, your voice. Pressure.
Ma'am, your voice is so fast, like we can't hear only. We can just hear your voice, but we can't hear anything what you are saying.
ma'am, please keep your volume low. Your mic's volume. That's fine.
What shall I do?
It is very disturbing. Reduce it.
Yes, ma'am.
No, it is no only, it is medium only, and I'm sitting at my sitting, so there is no voice at the background also.
No,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
I think it's your
It's
mic
because of you
problem.
increasing your mic's volume. So just keep it low.
Hmm. I'll try to make it. Now?
Now it's better, yes, ma'am.
And now
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
Now
Now
it's
fine.
it's fine.
okay?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's
Okay. Shall I
Yes,
continue
ma'am.
yes,
now?
ma'am. Now it's fine.
Yes,
Already
ma'am.
10 minutes, those people, they
Yes,
have
ma'am.
taken now this issue. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry,
Yes.
sorry. Okay. Now I'll continue. Shall I continue now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
What is top-down approach is? Yes, someone said that Devar said we are following the order. See, in every programming languages, the order is followed. Until and unless we are following the order, the coding, the output will not be proper. Fine, the execution will be in some order. Fine. So, in procedural programming or any programming, you know that basic you are writing a main function. So when you were writing your C program or maybe a procedural programming, you used to write a main function. Prior to that main function, you used to write some primitives like hash include, std, conio, fine. And then you used to start with your main function. And then inside that, again, you are following some rules, some ethics to write a code. Those are like you are declaring some variables, then you are defining the variables, then if you want to write some modules or the functions, you were able to write it, fine. And then the execution, that is ending of your main. So this is the way you people are writing your procedural programming. Now, why this is called as in top to bottom? I'm starting my code from my primitives, that is my hash include. My control is coming. See, you know this, that compiler control will first come to main function in every coding, in every type of programming language. Is it okay? So main is the only function which is known to your compiler. It may be a C, it may be a C++, or I'm talking about Java compiler, not an issue. So when the compiler control, it will come to main function. Then it will go inside the main. We used to write a main with opening and closing parentheses. And then after that, we used to write down a curly brace. Fine. And then the control will come inside the curly brace. Then you will write, your variables declaration, definition, and the part of your code. So here, what I'm doing is, or what my compiler is doing is, once the control is coming to the main, I'm moving out to the next line. Fine. I'm moving down to the next line. I cannot go backtrack, and I cannot do the, that is a compiler. He is not going backtrack and not doing the upper line again, not executing the upper line again. So what is happening? Main is executing. Fine. Then next curly brace, then next the next line, that is whatever variables you have, then the next line, then the next line, in this way. So till the end of your code, your compiler is going to execute instructions line by line. So hence this is called as a top to down approach. In case of C++, that is object oriented programming, we have a concept of classes and objects. We have main function also. I told you that in every compiler, main is a function which is executed first, right? So in C++ also, I'll be having a main function, but what will be the statement inside my main? Can I play with the normal variables in the C++? So answer is yes. We can play with the normal variables, but we have some user defined variables in C++. And those user defined variables, they are called as in objects. Fine. So when I'm writing, I will write it and you will, I'll share, you can understand from that. I'll just open my writer tab so it will be easy. So what happens now? Till the time it will get open, I will just talk out. So when I'm writing a main function inside that, I'll be writing user defined variables or my inbuilt variables. Now you all know about inbuilt variables. Inbuilt variables are variables are of your integer type and inbuilt data type. So I will write here, I will show you what I mean to say. Is it visible or shall I increase the font? Okay, is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So yes, so first I will write down the sample thing for your procedural programming. So in this way you are going to write your procedural program. For example, you used to write down int a. Then if you want to define this, so you used to write down a definition. Then अगर आपको इसको print करना है, you used to use printf, scanf, whatever it is. Is it okay? So in this way you are working with this. And then the control, compiler control will definitely first come to main. From here the control will come to this line, then the declaration, then maybe the next statements, whatever functions are there, whatever is there. And when the control will come here, this is the end of your code. That means execution end here. So hence the control starts from top and end at bottom. Fine. But when I'm talking about my object-oriented programming, there is a dependency. I'm dependent on my class. Fine. We'll let you know that what do you mean by class and object. But I'll just make a small change here. Now here I'm having a inbuilt variable. I will write down here some maybe sample b is equals to anything. For example, 50. Now, in procedural programming, you know what is this integer. Integer is a inbuilt data type. You know how much memory is allocated for this. It depends on the OS. Fine. So 2 bytes are allocated for your integer. So in that memory block of 2 bytes, 10 will get stored. Fine. So this is done. Now, when I'm coming to my next line, in my C++, I'm writing here some keyword sample. Now, what is the sample? Is it a user? Is it an inbuilt data type? So answer is no. This is not the inbuilt data type. This is user-defined data type, and I need to define this explicitly in my code. So somewhere, like maybe at the start of your main or maybe at the end of your main, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down definition that I'm writing in terms of class. So now you can see here what I did. I wrote the main. Inside that, I wrote the inbuilt type variable. Then I'm writing a user-defined type variable. But this variable is not known to my compiler because this is user-defined. I'm saying user-defined. That means as a programmer, I'm going to define it. Okay. So compiler doesn't know it. So compiler will search for what this sample means. So I do need to define what is the sample. So somewhere in my code, I am defining that sample. So I'm saying sample is a class. So when I'm saying sample is a class, it becomes my data type. So I can say it is a user defined data type. Sorry. So I can say this is a user defined data type. Is it okay? Now see, when compiler starts executing, the first line which will get executed will be this main. Next, the control will come to this line. Next, the control will come to this inbuilt data type. And then the control is coming to here. But compiler doesn't know what is it. So the control will pass on to class sample. So what happened? I am moving from here to here. Getting what I'm saying? I'm not executing this main directly, step by step. Rather, I need to move from one of the place of this my, maybe from one of the instruction from my main to my class. And hence it is called as in bottom to top approach. So in that case, it becomes my bottom and this becomes my top. So hence it will become my bottom to top approach. Understood this one? Yes, students?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
So getting why your procedural you are talking as in top to
Yes, ma'am.
bottom and why here we are saying as in bottom to top, because I'm not executing each and every line in the main line by line. Sorry, line by line. Rather, I have to move from some instruction to some another instruction. That is why here I'm moving out of my main. I'm moving some movie class. So this is the top part and this is the bottom part. So I'm saying I'm moving from bottom to top and hence it is bottom to top approach. Rather, we are not doing this thing in your normal procedural programming. Is it okay? So that is the
Ma'am,
one
there is a
thing that I have to
lag
tell you
here.
regarding top to bottom and top approach.
Ma'am,
Sorry.
lag हो रहा है, ma'am. Ma'am, there is a lag, ma'am, from your side, I guess.
To others also.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
yes, ma'am.
But my voice is already low. Okay, you understood that concept or not? Just let me know first.
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Bottom to top and top to bottom approach, you all understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
Yes,
shall I
ma'am.
move ahead now? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I'm having a doubt.
Yes, say. Raise your hands.
Ma'am, as you
Those who
said,
are
like,
having the doubts, no, they can raise their hands so that we can discuss at the end, okay? Yes, say
okay,
beta,
ma'am.
what you are having doubt?
Like, ma'am, in object-oriented programming, we define classes and then we declare its object in the main, and then we say it is bottom to top approach, right?
Yes.
But even in procedural programming, like we define functions at the top, then we call those functions in the main. So again,
Hmm.
it should be like bottom to top approach. So why it
See,
is called as even
function is
top to bottom
not
approach?
you are saying as in the name of your function is only user defined, but that is defined inside the C compiler. That your control is starting from the main, and main is understanding that from that if you are writing integer a is equals to 10 and you're giving call to your fun function maybe, fine, but still that is a function from where the control is going to to any whatever it is, but that function is a part of your main. Function is a part of your main. If you're writing a function, getting function is a part of main. That's why it is not a bottom to top. Whereas class is not a part of main. These are two independent entities.
Okay,
Getting
ma'am. Got it.
function,
Thank you,
yes,
ma'am.
function जब आप normal function, मुझे लगा ये question किसी को आएगा कि subroutine जब आप call करते हो in procedural programming, it should also be a bottom to top approach. But in procedural programming, your normal function is a part of the main. Whereas when we talk about object-oriented programming, classes and the main function, these both are different entities, different things. I cannot relate a class. I am not calling a class from the main, right? Class is different user defined module that I had written. उसके अंदर भी variables होंगे. It's just like a capsule. उसके अंदर उसके functions होंगे, उसके अंदर उसके variables होंगे. But main के अंदर भी उसका function हो सकता है. So when main is having its own function, it comes in the procedural programming. But when I'm using a class with own user defined maybe a variables and the function, it becomes my object oriented programming. Don't get confused here.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, one more thing, you can write down a C++ program without using a class. You can write down a C++ program without using a class. How? That I will let you know afterwards. Okay, class, writing a class is not an, explicitly, it is not important or it is not necessary. But even though it can become an user, object oriented code. That I will let you know once we'll move ahead. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Clear your
Ma'am,
doubt?
ma'am, are structure and class same? Like structure in C?
Yes. That is also user defined and class is also user defined.
Yes, ma'am. Structure
Ma'am, but
also
C is a
user-defined.
procedural language, no, ma'am. And C++ is an
Yes.
OOP language.
Yes. I'm calling the, the variables of your structure, they are called as in structure variables. And the variables of the class, they are called as an objects.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Everything we are playing here, calling a function. You cannot call a function directly through, जैसे आप main में C में call करते थे, simply name of the function, semicolon, function is getting called. यहाँ पे जब हम C++ में function call करेंगे, so I do need to have an object. I do need to refer to the class कि आपने फंक्शन कहाँ डिक्लेयर किया है. सो फंक्शन का डिक्लेरेशन और प्रोटोटाइप इज नेसेसरी टू बी देयर इन द क्लास. That is, data is hiding. I'm hiding something here, which is not there in my procedural programming. Everything was open there. But here I am just giving the priority to my functions and the variables. जो मुझे access करना है, मैं उसी function को और उसी variable को access करूँगी main से, only using an objects. That is the difference between your structure and the classes here. Anything else?
Thank you, ma'am.
Regarding implementation, so whatever will be the size of your class is a collection of data members and the member functions. So whatever will be the size of the class. Now you will identify the size. Total size of the variables you will count, okay, and size of the function, memory of your functions. So uska size hoga, that will be the size of your class. Yes. Yes. To
Yes,
everyone.
ma'am, there was a lag. Ma'am.
Ma'am, we are not getting what are you saying. It's lagging.
To A division or B division?
B division.
Is it
B division, ma'am.
No,
is
ma'am.
it clear or not? My
No,
voice
ma'am.
is not clear or it's a lagging. What is it? Fast हो रहा है.
Your voice is breaking. नहीं फास्ट नहीं हो रहा है. आवाज टूट टूट के आ रहा है.
मैम वो सेंटेंस आधा ही सुनाई दे रहा है मैम, आधा आवाज ही नहीं आता, बीच में कट जाता है.
Okay, so what I will do, no, tomorrow we'll have a same meeting like yesterday we had on Teams, no. So we'll try to have the meeting on Teams only. I will try to have a meeting on MS Teams only
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yes,
from
ma'am.
tomorrow.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay, because we are facing issues with Google Meet. I had created 2 links, no, so might be because of that there is an issue. Okay, so from tomorrow I'll try to have a meeting in Teams only so that there will be no issue from my side. Okay, is it
Okay,
okay?
ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes,
ये
ma'am.
सुनाई आया आप लोग को?
Yes, ma'am. हाँ मैम अभी आ रहा है.
Yeah, okay. So I was talking, okay, I will talk slowly so that you will understand. I was talking about, someone asked me related to structure and class. So I was telling about structure and class. In C, you are having a structure. Fine. So the variables of a structure are called as in normal structure variables. Fine. That data hiding was not there. But when we are talking about class, no, the variables of the class, they are specifically called as an object. Another thing, when you are writing your normal procedural programming और जब आप main function से कोई function call करते हो, you can directly give, you can directly write the name of the function and semicolon. Is it clear? And the function will get.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Radhika? Okay. Yes. So, but what we are doing in C++, I cannot access the function until and unless I have an object. So data hiding I'm doing here. जिसका access मेरे पास है बस उसी को access कर सकती हूँ. Every data I cannot access. So privacy of data is maintained in object-oriented programming. Okay, now I'll share the screen. So see, let's go to the overview of C language. So you all know C that is a procedural programming language. We are also calling as a structure-oriented language. Fine. It follows top-down approach. Now, why it follows top-down approach? That I explained you. So next quality or next thing about the procedural programming or the C languages, all the program code of a C can be executed in C++. But C++ code cannot be executed by C compiler. Is it okay? So like if I'm writing a C++, like I'm opening an editor and I'm working with a C++ compiler, but I'm writing the C code. So whether my C++ compiler will execute it, so definitely it will execute it. Then there are many features which are not available in your procedural programming. For example, inheritance, that is reusability, overloading concept, that is polymorphism. Then generic programming, like I'm writing a code for a variable and it is not integer, double or float, but it may be any generic variable code. That is, for example, addition of two numbers I want to do. Fine. So आपको अगर एडिशन ऑफ टू नंबर्स करना है सी में तो आप कैसे करते हो? आप पैरामीटर्स पास करते हो, इंटीजर पैरामीटर्स, मे बी 2 इंटीजर्स, मे बी 1 इंटीजर 1 फ्लोट, मे बी 2 फ्लोट. फाइन. एंड फिर आपका जो फंक्शन है वो कोई वैल्यू रिटर्न करता है. सो इट इज explicitly you have to give the return type, or maybe the arguments to the function may also be the should also be the they should also have a return type. But if I wanted to write a code which is generic, I will write the addition function, and I don't want that addition function should work only for integer. Rather, I want it should also work for my float, for string, for any objects also. So this kind of programming is a generic function I can write down in my C++, that is object oriented. There is no restriction on which data type it will work. Any data type it will work. Okay, the abstraction is there, which is not there in your procedural programming. Right? So then there is STL, standard template library. This is again one of the advanced feature of your object-oriented programming, which you didn't have in your procedural. Some things about the exception handling, like आपने divide by 0 कभी किया होगा. अगर किसी नंबर को आप divide by 0 करते हो, your in maths you will get output as an infinity. But when I will try to write a code for that in my editor or my compiler will it will interrupt. It will not give me an output. So such type of errors, they are coming in the category of exceptions. So such errors can be resolved by exception handling in object-oriented programming. So this was about the fundamentals of the C language and the advantage of C++ over your procedural one. One more thing, what was the file extension of your C code? Can anyone tell me?
.c.
Yes.
.c.
.c.
And C++ का file extension है .cpp.
.cpp.
Yes, .cpp. So what are the limitations for your C? Those are nothing but the advantages of your C++. So all those are enlisted here, like the drawbacks or maybe the the limitations. They are the advantages of your C++. So that I have just listed out here. Okay, can anyone tell me what is binding? Binding was also, it comes as a concept in every programming language when we are executing a code. What is binding? There are two types of binding, dynamic and static, early and late. आपने सी में कोड एग्जीक्यूट किया होगा तो आपको पता चला होगा व्हाट डू यू मीन बाय बाइंडिंग. एनीवन?
Is it compiling?
Oh, sorry, compiling. Yes, it's a sort of that thing, but not actually. Okay, you're writing your code, right? And then you are debugging it, or maybe you are compiling it. So when you are doing those things, your code is going to get linked with some other thing. मतलब कंपाइलर को कैसे कंट्रोल पास हो रहा है आपका, हाउ द कंट्रोल इज पास्ड. देन व्हेन यू आर एग्जीक्यूटिंग योर कोड, आपने जब सेव किया या एग्जीक्यूट किया, वी हैव अ लोडर बी, ठीक है, आपका मेमोरी में डेटा जाता है, हर रेगुलर डेटा जाता है, हाउ द डेटा इज गोइंग. सो देयर इज एन आई कैन से देयर इज एन स्ट्रैटेजी व्हिच इज बाइंडिंग, लिंक कर रहा है आपके कोड को. And then the object code or the executable code, that is .obj or .exe file of your code is going to get generated. Is it okay? Now it happens two times. एक आपका static binding होगा. Static binding मतलब compiler करेगा. Compiler understand करेगा आपके कोड को and executable code या obj file में convert करेगा. So that is nothing but your static binding or compiler binding. What is your dynamic binding or the late binding? It is done at the dynamic time, that is execution time में. कंपाइलर को पता नहीं चला बट एक्सेप्शन आया मेरा, तो एक्सेप्शन मेरा कंपाइलेशन टाइम में तो नहीं रिजॉल्व हुआ बट एग्जीक्यूशन टाइम में रिजॉल्व हुआ. सो दिस टाइप ऑफ बाइंडिंग इज कमिंग इन द कैटेगरी ऑफ लेट बाइंडिंग. इज इट ओके? जैसे मैंने डिवाइड बाय जीरो का एग्जांपल अभी आपको लिया, तो जब आप इसको कंपाइल करोगे ना, कंपाइलर तो एरर नहीं देगा. कंपाइलर एरर मतलब नो एरर विल बी देयर, बट व्हेन यू विल एग्जीक्यूट इट योर प्रोग्राम विल टर्मिनेट. फाइन. सो दिस जो मतलब एग्जीक्यूशन टाइम में आ रहा है, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज एन डायनामिक वन. और जो कंपाइलर हैंडल कर रहा है, दे आर कॉल्ड एज एन कंपाइलर. दैट इज, यू कैन ऑल्सो कॉल इट एज एन अर्ली और static. Okay, so this is nothing but what we are talking about a binding, that is we are linking our code with so that to generate a obj file or maybe to generate a .exe file. Is it okay? So
Yes,
a
ma'am.
normal difference between your procedural programming and the object oriented. So can anyone read it out so that I will get you are getting what I'm saying it out? Yes, Mugdha.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So can you read out the first difference between procedural oriented and the object oriented?
Yes, ma'am. In case of procedural oriented programming, program is divided into small parts called functions. And in case of object oriented programming, it is divided into small parts called objects.
Very good. So this is the first difference. And that's why this see all your functions, this is a procedure, that is a code is divided into the modules called as in function, and hence it is also called as in function oriented programming. Here we are focusing on the functions, variables, but here I am focusing on the object. Even though I have the function, but I cannot access the function until and unless I have an object, and that's why we are majorly focused here on the objects. Next difference, can anyone?
Ma'am, importance is not given to data but to function as well in procedural programming. But in object-oriented programming, prime importance is given to data and rather than procedural functions.
Yes. So what happens in procedural oriented or your normal C programming? What's happening? We are not, I'm not just bothered about the data, but I'm focusing on only the functions and the sequence. Like top to bottom, मैंने आपको बोला, मैंने start किया, उसके बाद जो next है, that is declaring a variable that should be executed. Then definition. Then what is the next thing that is? Fine. Till the ending of that particular main function, I'm going to execute each one in the sequence of actions. But when I'm talking about my object-oriented programming, my major focus is on data. I want to perform my data hiding, my data privacy. Is it okay? So here, rather than giving the priority to the functions or the procedures, I'm majorly focusing on my data. Is it okay? So that is one thing. I will give an example to this. For example, you are having your class, like SEA is one class, SEB is one class. And individual students inside this, they will become the objects of that class. Is it okay? So all these students, like 60 objects in A division and 60 objects in B division. So that is what we are, relating this objects and classes with the real-time examples. Next is procedural oriented is in top-down and object oriented is in bottom-up, that I told you. Then fourth difference is in procedural oriented, we doesn't have any specific access specifier. What do you mean by an access specifier? There are the access specifiers like public, private, and protected. With the name itself, you
Ma'am,
will get it.
Ma'am, the extent to which data can be
Sorry.
accessed by the compiler. Ma'am, the extent to which the data can be accessed while runtime.
You can access the data, but when you wanted to access the data, no, you need to access it through the object outside the class. Suppose तुम्हारे पास दो classes है, SEA and SEB. SEA वाले को SEB का data access करना है. No, he cannot access the data. So I'm providing the data hiding here. Whereas that data hiding is not there in my procedure oriented. Is it there? जो डेटा आपने एक बार डिफाइन कर दिया वो ग्लोबल हो गया प्रोसीजरल में, बट यहाँ वैसा नहीं है. मैंने मेरे डेटा को कहीं पे कैप्सूल में हिडन करके रखा है. सो ओनली दैट पार्ट इज गोइंग टू एक्सेस इट, नॉट द अदर वन. देयर इज नो एक्सटेंट, यू कैन एक्सेस इट. अगर आपने उसको एक्सेस स्पेसिफाई दिया है प्राइवेट, तो आप उसको एक्सेस नहीं कर सकते. अगर आपने उसको पब्लिक बोला है, जैसे मैंने फोर्थ डिफरेंस में स्पेसिफाई किया, अगर आपने आपके डेटा को पब्लिक बोला है, so yes, your data can be accessed. And if you're saying that your data is protected, then in that case it will go to the concept of inheritance, that is, derived class and all. So that we'll see later. So there is no limit आप कहाँ तक extend कर सकते हो, but you can provide privacy. Okay, I think I have answered.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. So next is to add the new data and the function in procedural oriented is not so easy. अगर आपको ऐड करना है तो आपको वापस से कोड में जाना पड़ेगा, एडिट करना पड़ेगा, वापस कंपाइल करना पड़ेगा. फाइन. बट अगर इन केस आपको OOP में करना है, so you can do it. You can add it in the class. Once you will do the modifications in the class, automatically it will reflect in your main. So there will be no doubt. Fine. Then in procedural oriented, most functions they use the global data. जो मैंने आपको वही बोला कि I am writing a main, I am writing that variable, but that will become a global. Fine, I cannot change its value. अगर करना है तो मुझे वापस से जाना पड़ेगा कोड में, मॉडिफाई करना पड़ेगा, वापस उसको कंपाइल करना पड़ेगा, and that's on. But OP में ऐसा नहीं है. OOP में मैं एक्सेस स्पेसिफायर्स यूज कर सकती हूँ. तो अगर मैंने किसी वेरिएबल को पब्लिक बोला है, तो वो वेरिएबल थ्रू आउट द कोड पब्लिक रहेगा, उसका विजिबिलिटी थ्रू आउट द कोड रहेगा. और एक वेरिएबल को अगर मुझे हाइड करना है, आई कैन से दैट वेरिएबल कैन बी अ प्राइवेट वन. Okay, so that is a beautiful function or beautiful feature of my object-oriented programming. Another thing is we can say that data hiding is not there in, as I'm saying you, data hiding is not there. So I can say it is a less secure one. But when I'm talking to my, object-oriented programming, data is hidden. So security is more, if you can compare. Fine. जैसे मेरा सैलरी का डेटा है, सो आई एम क्रिएटिंग एन एम्प्लॉय डेटाबेस एंड माय सैलरी डेटा इज देयर. सो आई वांटेड टू सेव दैट डेटा, सो आई विल डिफाइन दैट सैलरी इन दी प्राइवेट सेक्शन. सो अगर मैंने प्राइवेट सेक्शन में सैलरी डिफाइन कर दिया, सो इट विल बी प्राइवेट, सो नो वन अदर्स कैन सी दैट पर्टिकुलर वैल्यू. Fine. So that is what I am talking about, the security. The next is overloading is one of the concept which is not there in procedural programming. But when we talk about the object-oriented programming, overloading is possible. That is, polymorphism is possible. मतलब एक फंक्शन का नाम आप more than 10 times भी लिख सकते हो. उसका definition different होगा, but नाम same हो सकता है, which is not there in your C. आप वहाँ ट्राई करके देखो, you will get an error. Is it okay? And your languages like Fortran, Pascal, all the other, they are coming in this category like procedural. And C++, Java, .NET, C Sharp, these all are object oriented, and that's why these applications, these languages, they're basically used to create a secure kind of application. Even when we talk about the testing, you might have heard about Selenium 2 for the testing. So for that also, I can use scripting languages like that because it has many features like this, which we had just discussed. So I can create my own, testing scripts from my object-oriented languages. So this was certain point of differences between your procedural and object-oriented. So I wish we the basics of the difference between C and C++ we had covered, and from tomorrow we'll start with the basic principles in depth. What are the principles? Encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, and all. So that we are going to discuss in depth with an example. I will tell you how it looks like when we are writing a code. So is it okay for today?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Very
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Are you going to share the PDF?
Yes, beta, I will share, but not now. Let me complete the unit first. Okay. I'm going to give you everything,
ma'am.
beta, everything. Okay, I'll just take your attendance. Just be fast. A division. Only A division, huh?